David arrived in China believing he understood the rules. He had studied the numbers, analyzed the market, listened to consultants who promised opportunity at unprecedented scale. China was the future, the world's fastest growing economy, a market no global company could afford to ignore. And for a while, everything worked. Factories operated smoothly, costs dropped, growth followed. China welcomed David. But what David didn't know, what most foreign executives don't realize until it's too late, is that in China, the visible rules are not the real rules. From the outside, China looks like a market economy, contracts, partnerships, competition. But inside, the system operates differently. The state does not sit beside the market, it sits inside it. When David's company began to grow, attention followed. Local partnerships were encouraged. Strategic cooperation was proposed. Promises of faster expansion and regulatory ease filled the room, but every partnership opens a door, and through that door, something always flows out. Data, processes, know-how. In China, information is never neutral. China's rise is often described as the greatest economic miracle in human history. Hundreds of millions lifted out of poverty, mega-cities built in a single generation, an industrial machine operating at unmatched scale. But this miracle did not happen in isolation. It happened within a system built elsewhere. Western capital financed it. Western markets absorbed it. Western technology powered it. China did not replace the global order. It mastered how to operate inside it, quietly, patiently, strategically. From a distance, scale looks like strength. The biggest factories, the largest workforce, the fastest execution. But scale can hide fragility, because assembling the world's products is not the same as controlling the technologies behind them. And Beijing understood this vulnerability. By the early 2010s, Chinese leadership recognized a dangerous truth. Economic growth without technological sovereignty is unstable. A single export ban, one sanctions package, one political decision, entire industries could freeze overnight. That fear gave birth to a doctrine, not a business plan, not a trade policy, a national strategy. For foreign companies like David's, the environment began to shift. Regulations changed quietly, licenses slowed, compliance requirements multiplied. Nothing was officially banned, nothing was openly denied, but progress became impossible. This is China's most effective weapon. Never say no. Just make yes unreachable. Local competitors emerged almost overnight. They looked familiar, operated faster, charged less. They didn't innovate from scratch. They iterated from what already existed, with state support, with protected access, with patience foreign firms could not afford. David was still playing by the rules. The system around him was not. The West misunderstood China in two critical ways. First, it assumed prosperity would lead to openness, that wealth would soften power. History never guaranteed that. Second, it confused visibility with transparency. China looked modern, efficient, stable, but stability enforced is not stability earned. Over time, the pressure mounted, margins shrank, control faded. Decisions required approvals that never arrived. David didn't lose overnight, he faded. And that is how most foreign companies lose in China. Not through collapse, but through suffocation. Today, China is neither collapsing nor unstoppable. It is something far more complex. A nation balancing scale with fragility, control with creativity, ambition with constraint. Demographics are turning, debt is rising, technology is becoming geopolitical, and the system that once fueled China's rise is now being redesigned without it. David's story is not unique. It has played out thousands of times, in boardrooms, factories, and courtrooms. Because the greatest danger is not misunderstanding China's strength, it's misunderstanding its nature. When nations act on myths, they make catastrophic decisions. China is not the story we were told, and the future will belong not to the loudest narrative, but to the most accurate one. But David's story doesn't end with failure, because what happened to him was not an exception, it was a pattern, and patterns reveal intent. As foreign companies began to retreat, China's leadership didn't panic. There were no public speeches, No apologies, no visible concern. Instead, something else happened. Domestic companies quietly filled the space. The factories stayed open, the workers stayed employed, the supply chains kept moving, only the logos changed. Where foreign brands once stood, local champions now took their place. This wasn't accidental, it was preparation. China never viewed foreign companies as permanent partners. They were temporary accelerators. They brought capital, they brought know-how, they brought access to global standards. And once that knowledge diffused into the system, dependence became optional. For David, this realization came too late. By the time he understood the game had already moved on. What made China different was not deception, it was patience. Western companies plan in quarters. Western investors think in years. China plans in decades. David was pressured to deliver results quickly. Local competitors were allowed to lose money indefinitely. One side needed profit, the other needed learning. Only one of those strategies survives long-term. As the years passed, the global environment began to change. Trade wars, export controls, sanctions. For the first time, China experienced what it had feared for decades: cutoffs. Advanced chips became restricted. Critical machinery became unreachable. Software updates stopped arriving. And suddenly, the vulnerability that Beijing had long tried to hide was exposed to the world. China could build almost everything, except the things that mattered most. This is where the myth cracked. The idea of China as an unstoppable technological force collided with reality. Innovation cannot be commanded, it cannot be scheduled, and it cannot be copied forever. True breakthroughs require uncertainty, freedom to fail, freedom to question, and those freedoms come at a political cost, a cost China has never been willing to fully pay. Inside the country, control tightened, surveillance expanded, information narrowed, risk-taking declined. Talented engineers didn't disappear, but they stopped experimenting, because in a system where failure is punished, safety becomes the highest form of intelligence, and safety never leads innovation. For David, watching from the outside, the irony was painful. The same system that once attracted him had now closed itself off. Foreign companies were no longer welcomed as partners. They were viewed as liabilities, as risks, as potential leverage for hostile governments. The door hadn't slammed shut, it had simply stopped opening. China today exists in a paradox. It is too large to ignore, too integrated to isolate completely, too controlled to fully innovate. It wants technological independence without technological openness. It wants global influence without global trust. It wants growth without instability. History offers few examples where all three were achieved at once. David's story is not a warning about China alone. It's a warning about assumptions. The assumption that markets always liberalize, that prosperity always softens power, that integration guarantees alignment. None of those were laws of nature, they were beliefs, and beliefs are dangerous when mistaken for strategy. The world is now entering an era of separation, two technological ecosystems, two supply chains, two visions of the future, one built on openness and alliances, the other on control and self-reliance. This process has a name, decoupling, and it will define the next generation. But decoupling comes at a cost. Technology becomes more expensive, innovation slows, global efficiency collapses. For decades, cooperation made progress cheaper. Now security makes progress slower. And in the center of this tension stands one fragile point: Taiwan, a small island holding the most critical technology on Earth. One disruption there would send shockwaves through every economy, including China's, including America's, including David's. Silicon once built the modern world. Now it threatens to divide it. The battle ahead is not about who makes the fastest chip. It's about which system can sustain innovation without collapsing under its own constraints. The greatest danger is not misunderstanding China's strength, it's misunderstanding its nature. Because when nations act on myths, they don't just make mistakes, they lock themselves into futures they can no longer escape. China is not the story we were told, and the future will belong not to the loudest narrative, but to the most accurate one.